When you enlist in the U.S. military, you go through what is known as boot camp or basic training. But what if you plan on commissioning in the military as an officer? You'd have a few options to take. There's OCS, ROTC, and the highly coveted and prestigious service academies, which will be covered in this video. The United States Service Academies are intense four-year programs that focus on building future U.S. military officers from the ground up. Graduating from a service academy puts you in a class of highly respectable people and is an achievement that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Some of the most famous and notable military leaders in United States history are graduates of the service academies. The service academies have a long-standing legacy of providing a world-class college education while also testing the grit, character, and resolve of those who attend to ensure that the U.S. military is getting the best leaders possible. This is why these service academies are no easy feat. A lot will be asked out of you, and this isn't your typical college experience. With that said, why does the U.S. military have service academies? How many service academies are there? How hard is it to get into one of them? What's life like in the academies? And if you're interested in attending one of them, which one's best for you? We're going to answer all of those questions for you and much more. This is United States Military Academies. The U.S. military currently has 5 service academies: the Military Academy, also known as West Point, Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, Coast Guard Academy, and the Merchant Marine Academy. West Point trains officers for the Army, the Naval Academy trains officers for the Navy and Marine Corps, Air Force Academy trains officers for the Air Force and Space Force, the Coast Guard Academy trains Coast Guard officers, and the Merchant Marine Academy, well, there's actually a lot of possibilities, so you'll have to stick around to find out because it's pretty cool. Despite there being 5 separate academies, there's a lot of overlap when it comes to their structure and day-to-day life. So before we jump into the specifics of each academy, we're first going to cover the high-level similarities between them all. As a student at one of the 5 military service academies, you will go through a unique and challenging college experience that is quite different from what you might find at other colleges or universities. Your education will focus on leadership and military training, preparing you for a career as an officer in one of the 6 branches of the U.S. military. This means that every single day you spend at the academy will be highly structured and regimented. Summer breaks, not so fast. You might get a few weeks off, but a majority of your summers will be spent receiving intensive military training that the academies didn't have the time to do during the academic year. It's also safe to say that you must be much more responsible at the academies compared to a traditional college. Since academy attendees are technically members of the U.S. military, they are subjected to the UCMJ, and that's a big deal. Plus, everyone will have plenty of extracurriculars they must manage on top of their course load, such as the requirement for everyone to participate in some sort of sport or activity. At this point, you might be wondering, if the service academies are so difficult, why do people even attend these? What's the point? For starters, simply speaking, the U.S. military is mandated by law to have service academies. Plus, they put a lot of money into these programs, meaning that students will be given every resource possible to learn exactly what the U.S. military wants them to learn to be the best leaders possible. Academy graduates also receive a multitude of benefits beyond their experience at the academy, such as an invaluable network, competitive degree, leadership experience, and a whole lot more. It's once been said that service academies are good places to be from, not to be at. Moving on, each academy has a 4-year curriculum structured similar to the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior format that colleges have. However, they use different names for their years, each with their own unique names or ranks, if you will. After graduation, the minimum commitment for most graduates is 5 years active duty plus 3 years in the reserves. But this can differ depending on the job you get out of the academy. If you do the math there, going to a service academy is a 12-year commitment. That might seem like a hefty time commitment for a high school graduate flirting with the idea of applying to go to a service academy, but the military affords you an opportunity to back out before it's too late. Generally speaking, at the halfway point in the academies, you will have the opportunity to back out or reaffirm your commitment to serve. Those who back out or step left before the halfway point typically do not have to pay anything back. However, once you give your oath, you're in, and after that point, you will owe Uncle Sam. If you back out after you commit, you'll either need to pay back your time with money or enlist to make up for it. So yes, your education will be free at the service academies, but understand you will pay it back one way or another once you commit. With all of that said, how does someone get into one of the academies? As far as admissions go, the academies are open to anyone in or out of the military that meets the general requirements of their respective academy, but a majority of applicants are coming out of high school. While we'll cover the specific requirements in each section, generally speaking, applicants must secure a nomination from a congressman, senator, vice president, or the president. The application processes for the service academies are highly selective, with some of them having acceptance rates as low as 11%. Fun fact though, if you happen to be the child of a Medal of Honor recipient, so long as you meet the minimum eligibility requirements, you will automatically get accepted into any service academy your heart desires. The more you know. Alright, enough of the broad strokes. Let's move on to discussing each service academy one by one. We're going to cover what goes on at each academy, their requirements, how you select the job, and much more. Let's kick things off with West Point. The United States Military Academy is the oldest of the service academies, having been stood up in 1802 by President Thomas Jefferson. It is located in West Point, New York, hence the name West Point. Several prominent figures have graduated from this prestigious academy, such as Douglas MacArthur, John J. Pershing, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Buzz Aldrin. Attendees at West Point are collectively referred to as cadets. During a cadet's time at West Point, like what we do and want to support us? Go check us out on Patreon. We've got several tiers, each with some pretty cool benefits. Go to patreon.com/general discharge. Links in the description. They will go through a 4-year course of study to earn a Bachelor of Science degree in one of the 36 majors the Academy offers. Along the way, they will receive various military instruction and guidance to prepare them to serve as second lieutenants in the U.S. Army upon graduation. From their first to last year in the Academy, the cadets are officially called 4th class, 3rd class, 2nd class, and 1st class cadets respectively. Informally, 4th class cadets are referred to as plebes, 3rd class cadets are called yearlings, 2nd class cadets are called cows, and 1st class cadets are called firsties. Most of the military training will take place during the summers at West Point. The first summer happens before your plebe year, which is about a month or two after your graduation if you're coming straight from high school. This is called Cadet Basic Training, or Beast Barracks, and is 6 weeks long. It's essentially like a mini boot camp you go through before you start your actual time there as a cadet. The second summer will have you do cadet field training at nearby Camp Buckner, and then the 3rd and 4th summers are spent serving in active U.S. Army units around the world. You also have the opportunity to attend advanced training courses such as airborne or air assault school, so before your commission, you can get some pretty cool training opportunities. In a nutshell, each day you spend at West Point is going to be highly regimented, with almost every minute of your day being accounted for. As a new cadet, you'll have plenty of responsibilities and BS to deal with, but your quality of life slowly gets better with each passing year. This is a common trend in the service academies. Upperclassmen have a better quality of life than underclassmen do. As far as job selection goes, West Point starts to hone in on what you want in your 3rd and 4th years as you get closer to graduation. Each year, West Point hosts a branch week which aims to help inform cadets so they are better equipped to decide on what they want to do after graduation. Branches are specialized occupational fields of the U.S. Army, each with their own area of technical and tactical expertise. Depending on the needs of the Army and your personal desires, when the time comes to communicate what you want to do, you will let the Army know by listing some of your top choices. From there, the Army will confirm which career fields you want to work in, and in return, the career fields will review your accolades, such as test scores, PT scores, personal statements, and interviews, and will let the Army know whether or not you're a viable candidate. As always, unless a contract says otherwise, there's no guarantee that you'll land the job you want. We'll end this section off with the basic requirements to get into West Point for those interested. To be eligible, you must be at least 17 but not 23 or older by July 1st of the year you enter, a U.S. citizen, not married or pregnant, and not legally responsible for child support. With West Point covered, let's move on to our next service academy, the Naval Academy. The United States Naval Academy, located in Annapolis, Maryland, is the second oldest service academy, having been founded on October 10, 1845 by George Bancroft. Several notable people have graduated from here, such as Admiral Chester Nimitz, John McCain, Jimmy Carter, and Ross Perot. Those who attend the Naval Academy are known as midshipmen, who go through a 4-year course of study where they earn a Bachelor of Science degree in one of the 26 majors offered. Graduates will either move on to serve as ensigns in the Navy or second lieutenants in the Marine Corps. More on that later. From year 1 to year 4, the midshipmen are referred to as 4th class, 3rd class, 2nd class, and 1st class midshipmen, respectively. Informally, the 4th class midshipmen are also referred to as plebes. And like all service academies, they have extra responsibilities that they have to deal with until they move on to be upperclassmen. Because of the college curriculum throughout the school year, a majority of military training occurs during the summer spent at the Naval Academy. The first taste starts at what is known as Plebe Summer, which is the Naval Academy's version of a boot camp all attendees must go through. It lasts approximately 7 weeks, separated into 2 sets, and consists of rigorous physical and mental training to turn civilians into midshipmen. In the second summer between the plebe and 3rd class or youngster years, you'll go to sea for 3 weeks in a yard patrol craft to various New England ports and spend 3 weeks in either Naval Academy sailing sloops or attend naval tactical training. The third summer turns things up a notch and is action-packed. In what is called Protermid, or Professional Training of Midshipmen, you'll fly in Navy aircraft, go in a nuclear-powered submarine, and patrol with the Marine Corps. Not only that, but you'll become part of a ship's crew for 4 weeks. This all serves to give you a first-hand experience of the daily routine of the various aspects of the U.S. Navy so you know what you like and don't like. By your last summer, you should have honed in on what or where you want to go, and will spend 4 to 8 weeks in an operational unit from any of the areas the Navy or Marine Corps can offer. Those wanting to become Marine officers will go through a 4-week course known as Leatherneck, which brings us into how midshipmen can choose whether to go Navy or Marine Corps. Essentially, you need to know that getting into the Naval Academy does not guarantee you'll commission into the Marine Corps. By default, you're going to go to the Navy, unless you express interest and work on the prereqs to get into the Marine Corps. Sparing the finer details, midshipmen must pass various Marine Corps PT tests and submit the requisite paperwork to get a shot at going to Leatherneck, where they will further be evaluated to see if they're a good fit for the Marines. They may also get the opportunity to do 4 weeks of MAGTAF, which is being attached to an operational Marine Corps command. If ultimately selected, upon graduation, they'll be commissioned as Marine officers and will move on to the basic school and their follow-on training. Nearly 30% of each graduating class may be chosen for commissioning in the Marine Corps. Bringing things back to all midshipmen, they get the opportunity to state their career preferences early in their senior or first class year. Obviously, the job or unit you want is dependent on the needs of the Navy, but with that said, 93% of the class of 2021 received their first or second assignment preference. And yes, for those of you wondering, you can become a SEAL out of the Academy, provided you put in the work. Naval Academy graduates tend to have the lowest attrition at BUD/S compared to other candidates. Fun fact, a cool tradition happens that's called Ship Selection Night, where those going to be surface warfare officers get to pick their ships in order of how well they did in their class. To wrap the Naval Academy up, we'll leave you with the basic requirements you need to be accepted, which are to be a U.S. citizen by July 1st of the year of entry, at least 17 and not have passed your 23rd birthday on July 1st of the year of entry, unmarried, not pregnant, have no dependents, and to have a valid social security number. With the Naval Academy covered, let's move on to the Air Force Academy. The Air Force Academy, located in Colorado Springs, Colorado, is the newest of the 5 service academies, having graduated its first class in 1959. Those who attend the Air Force Academy are known as cadets and go through a 4-year course of study to earn a Bachelor of Science in 32 majors that are offered. It's important to note here that the curricula offered definitely cater to those who'd be interested in STEM. Throughout their time there, cadets will receive military training to prepare them to serve as second lieutenants in the U.S. Air Force or Space Force. From their first year to their 4th year, cadets are known as 4th class, 3rd class, 2nd class, and 1st class cadets respectively. Much like all the other service academies, cadets receive a majority of their military instruction and experience throughout their summers, with the most arduous being at their first summer before the freshman year, or dually year, begins. The boot camp that cadets go through at the beginning of their time at the academy is known as Basic Cadet Training, often referred to as Basic Cadets or BEAST. Basic Cadet training is a 6-week program that is split into 2 parts, first BCT and second BCT. BCT is designed to transform civilians into Air Force Academy cadets. At first BCT, your experience will be like drinking from a fire hose. You'll learn all the customs and courtesies of the military, undergo room inspections, drill, and go through various physical evolutions. At second BCT, this is where you will expand on what was previously learned. Candidates will head to what is known as Jack's Valley, a 3,300-acre training complex used for military field training, where they will push their physical limits, all while building self-confidence and teamwork skills through small unit tactics, firearms training, and go through an obstacle course and assault course. Once you make it through BCT, you're formally a part of the cadet wing, but you're nowhere near close to being accepted by the upperclassmen. Once you go through the rigors of the first year, it all culminates in the springtime in what is known as recognition. This is a big deal for the dualies, as they are now informally accepted into the cadet wing and have proven themselves to the upperclassmen. From there on out, your summers at the Air Force Academy will typically be split up into periods of 3 weeks, where each will be dedicated to military training, research, academics, or vacation. During the second year, training will begin with ESET, which stands for Expeditionary, Survival, and Evasion Training. Here, cadets learn how to set up modular facilities and contingency utilities, passive defense, force protection, secure individual and team movement, and survival and evasion skills. Cadets will also learn more about the basics of military communication and the profession of arms. During the third year, cadets have a few things they get to do. There's Operation Air Force, which is a 3-week program that provides an opportunity for each cadet to visit and work at an operational Air Force base and see the day-to-day of different jobs like special warfare, pilots, and a whole lot more. They will also get to do an airmanship program, such as soaring, jump, or unmanned aerial systems programs, and they will also participate as instructors or leaders of a summer program over the underclassmen. Lastly, during the fourth year, cadets take the reins of command as cadet wing leadership, holding positions of responsibility within basic cadet training, ESET, and other underclass summer training programs. They serve as cadet officers throughout the academic year and develop organizational leadership competencies. While over half of graduates pursue flight training, there's a multitude of job opportunities for those in the Air Force and Space Force once they graduate and commission. From space operations to air traffic control to Air Force Special Warfare, there's no shortage of cool jobs out there. And this may come as a surprise, but you even have the opportunity to commission as a Marine Corps officer out of the Air Force Academy through what is known as the Bulldog program. Just keep in mind that you have your work cut out for you, and only a handful of graduates can do this. All in all, the job selection process at the Air Force Academy is based on 4 criteria, which are the needs of the Air Force, cadet qualification, cadet preferences, and the board rankings. After you graduate, you get a pretty sweet gig of 60 days of paid leave where you can do whatever you want before you start your work as a second lieutenant in the Air Force or Space Force. For those wondering on how the process goes to either commission in the Air Force or Space Force, that will be dependent on how many slots are available, your interests, and participating in their summer programs like the Azimuth Guardianship Program and Ops Space Force. Essentially, as of right now, if you desire to join the Space Force, it's there if you want it, but that can always be subject to change. Once you commit to the Space Force, though, that's it. Just keep in mind that the Space Force is the newest branch of the US military, so there's lots of room for changes and methods since it's only been integrated in the Academy for a few years at this point. We'll wrap this section up with the basic requirements to get into the Air Force Academy, which are as follows. You must be a U.S. citizen, at least 17 but not less than 23 years of age by July 1st of the year of entry, unmarried with no dependents, be of good moral character, and meet high leadership, academic, physical, and medical standards. With the Air Force Academy covered, let's move on to the Coast Guard Academy. The Coast Guard Academy, founded in 1876 and located in New London, Connecticut, is the smallest of the 5 service academies. Those who attend the Coast Guard Academy are called cadets and go through a 4-year course of study to earn a Bachelor of Science in the 9 majors that are offered. Keep in mind that the number of majors here is much less than the other academies. Much like what was covered previously, cadets will receive a college education whilst undergoing various military training to prepare them to be commissioned as ensigns in the U.S. Coast Guard. As you'd expect by now if you've been with us the whole way through, a majority of their military training is conducted in the summers, which are intended to aid in getting them the experience and character they need to lead. And again, if you've been with us the whole way through, you might be able to guess what the ranks of the cadets are from their freshman to senior year. At the Coast Guard Academy, they go from 4th class, 3rd class, 2nd class, and 1st class cadets, respectively. The boot camp that newly minted cadets go through in their first summer before they begin their studies is known as SWAB Summer. This is an 8-week basic training program that culminates on a week-long underway voyage aboard the tall ship Eagle. From obstacle courses to PT events, teamwork exercises, and general introductions to the military way of life, SWAB Summer is nothing to sneeze at. For your whole first year, you'll be informally known as a SWAB, by the way. The summers at the Academy are spent aboard operational Coast Guard units during the summer, most commonly cutters. On screen is a picture of all the locations you can go to during your summers that's provided by the Coast Guard Academy. Additionally, some cadets can go to air stations to learn more about being a pilot, and others can go work at specialized units. During your time with the operational commands as a cadet, you'll integrate with the enlisted crew and learn the ways of the Coast Guard. You'll stand watch, conduct damage control training, weapons qualifications, do the SAIL training program, and you can spend a few weeks as a member of the cadre who train the incoming SWABs. Your last summer will be 10 weeks serving in the role as a junior officer because you'll soon be on your way to actually commissioning. As far as where you will go work at once you graduate, you typically find out during your last year. You will officially learn where you're going at what is known as billet night, which can be a fun and exciting time for some. 90% of new ensigns go to sea as deck watch officers or engineers in training, and the remainder head straight to flight school or operational shore units. And one random note before we wrap up with the basic requirements. If sports are a big deal to you, the Coast Guard Academy is Division 3, whereas West Point, the Naval Academy, and Air Force Academy are Division 1. The basic requirements to be admitted into the Coast Guard Academy are: you must be a U.S. citizen of sound moral character, unmarried with no dependents or financial debt, 17 to 22 years of age on the last Monday of June in the year you enter, and have a high school diploma or GED. Additionally, unlike the other service academies, admission to the Coast Guard Academy does not require a congressional nomination, so you won't have to worry about that in your application. With the Coast Guard Academy covered, let's move on to our last, but certainly not least, service academy, the Merchant Marine Academy. The Merchant Marine Academy, established in 1943 and located in Kings Point, New York, is definitely one of the more interesting academies when it comes to its flexibility of career options. Up until now, the 4 academies we've covered offer accession to all 6 branches of the U.S. military. So where do graduates of the Merchant Marine Academy go? This answer might shock you, but believe it or not, you can literally go into any branch you want, or you can go work in the maritime transportation industry. Like all of the other service academies, you go through a 4-year curriculum where you receive a Bachelor of Science degree, except this academy offers just 5 core programs that mainly focus on marine transportation and marine engineering. So if you want to come out of here as a Marine officer, or a pilot, or an Army officer, just keep in mind that a large majority of your time and energy spent here will be towards learning how to serve in the Merchant Marine as a deck officer or engineering officer. There's also mandatory Coast Guard exams for licenses in the maritime industry, so beware of the consequences if you want to take this route. Those who go to the Merchant Marine Academy are known as midshipmen. From the first year to last year, they're known as 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st class midshipmen, respectively. Just like the Naval Academy, those in their first year here are known as plebes. Your experience at the Merchant Marine Academy will be structured somewhat differently compared to the others. First, the mini boot camp that inducts people heading into their plebe year is just 2.5 weeks. Despite its short length, it's still designed to be stressful and intense, where it introduces candidates to the regimental life at the academy through PT, drill, history, and customs and courtesies. Another defining part of Kings Point is what is called Sea Year. Sea Year pairs midshipmen to a merchant vessel for extended periods of time throughout their sophomore and junior years. Your first sea period will last about 135 days during your sophomore year and 265 days during your junior year. You're given the opportunity to request a buddy to join you on those, which is pretty cool. Plenty of people have uploaded their Sea Year experiences on YouTube, which is where we got some of this footage, so you can get a first-hand look yourself. Another thing that distinguishes this academy from the others is the service commitment. If graduates move on to serve in the merchant marine or maritime industry, they will be required to maintain the reserve commission in their respective branch for 8 years and must work for 5 years in the aforementioned industry. For those who commission active duty, they must serve 5 years like everyone else. Regardless of where someone goes, all graduates must maintain their U.S. Coast Guard issued Merchant Marine Officer's license for a period of at least 6 years. As for the basic requirements to get into the Merchant Marine Academy, you must be a U.S. citizen, meet the requirements necessary for commission in the Navy Reserve, be of good moral character, and be at least 17 years of age but not past your 25th birthday before July 1st in the year of entrance. If you noticed, this is the oldest age requirement of the 5 service academies, so if you're pushing 25 and have no other academy you qualify for, this is your option. It's safe to say that all of the service academies operate under a similar structure, but differ in their culture, experiences, and opportunities both during and after one's time there. As we said it once before, we'll say it again. To some, the service academies are a good place to be from, but not a good place to be at. If you're someone who is considering applying or accepting a nomination, please understand that this is not going to be a typical college experience and you will have your work cut out for you. However, if you do decide to go through one of the service academies, understand that you will have an amazing, one-of-a-kind experience coupled with an invaluable network and camaraderie with your fellow graduates and alumni. Oh, and if and only if you do your full 20 years, you'll get the 4 years you did in the academy tacked on for a total of 24 years of service. Also, if you're having problems deciding which academy you want to attend or have the fear of missing out, just know that you can request to do an exchange program where you spend 6 months at another academy to see what it's like. It's not a guarantee, but the opportunity is there if you want it and it can be a fun experience. The goal of this video was to introduce you to each of the academies to give you some perspective, and look at how long the video has gone on already. Go do your research and figure out which one's best for you. There's a lot of valuable resources out there that go in depth about what you should expect at each service academy. With that said, to those who stuck with us for the whole thing, a very special thanks to you. A lot of effort was put into this video, and we hope you got something out of it. Well, that is the down and dirty of the United States military academies. If you learned something from this video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to our channel. As always, thank you for watching. Do you even want to be here? A special thank you to all of our supporters in our Patreon and YouTube membership. If you'd like to be featured in our videos, consider joining and go check out the links in our description below. Your contribution is greatly appreciated and will help us create more great content.
All your friends are subscribing to General Discharge, and you don't even want to be here.